coming. Yeah. And to see him, so that whole...
You didn't know it was coming.
No,
you didn't know.
I didn't know, no. You didn't know that right hand was coming, did you?
It was just pantomime and I told you he'd start fucking thing.
I think if I wasn't a fight fan, I wouldn't know this fight's happening. Hang on, who are you getting GBH on?
Whoever the fucking hell gets near me, mate.
So if I came near you, you'd get GBH on. Mate, you'd be unconscious.
First of all, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for taking time out to come down to the Press Insights preview of Eubank and Conor Benn, the rematch. I mean, you don't need me to remind you just how enthralling the first match was, the narrative, the fathers, the history, and what a great performance they both put on. And now here we are just down the line with our three former champions, Carl Froch, Bellew, George Groves. Thanks for joining us, guys. So, first of all, who should we ask first? Bellew, a man who had 4 rematches in his career, won each one of them. How do you go into a rematch? How does it differ from the initial bout for you? Do you have to go in with a different frame of mind?
In all 4 rematches, there were different opponents with their very, very different styles. The first one I can think of was Owen McKenzie, then it goes to Isaac Chilemba, then Nathan Cleverly, and then David Hay. All different styles. Going into rematch, the biggest part for me was studying the mistakes that they made. Because every fighter makes mistakes, every fighter has telltale signs. And for me, going into the rematch with each one, I was well prepared for the telltale signs, even if they did change mid-fight. Because all fighters, you study them, and then you hit them for the first time, and then they change into something completely different than you studied. But you properly find fighters the likes of your David Hayes and your Nathan Cleverly, they can't change too much. The other fighters I'd faced did. Isaac Chilemba just basically ran. And the other, Owen McKenzie, there wasn't much more he could do besides on the big punch. So I was prepared. So I'd say rematches are, do your studying, do your due diligence, and it won't be a problem.
Let's move on to you, George Groves, a man who's shared the ring with Eubank Jr, defeated him. He's only 18 months younger than you, but here he is still ploughing on. He's talking about World Championship fights next year if this goes to plan against Conor Benn. Does that surprise you about him, and how do you see this fight playing out?
Yeah, I mean, Eubank's done really well. I think for him 7 years ago now, and I retired not that long after, thinking I've had enough, and he's still there. He survived COVID, he survived being knocked out, coming back, and he just about survived Conor Benn, if I think about it now. And then I thought, we're all excited about this big fight next week, but after that fight was done, I was like, that was brilliant. Everything about that was perfect. And the fight delivered. The build-up was brilliant. The big reveal of Chris. Did we think Chris Senior was coming? Yes, we all knew Chris Senior was coming. We were all so excited when he climbed out of the Rolls Royce. And the fight lived up to it. And then to and fro, and Eubank won and deserved to win and got the nod. And I thought, is he going to have enough about him now to say, let me go out on this mega high, this ultimate high. I've beaten my new now nemesis on the biggest stage. But he hasn't. He's gone back. He wants to do it again.
They're billing it as unfinished business.
And now maybe he might come unstuck. But maybe that's not. Maybe 1-1 means we get a third and we're all happy. But I'm not sure he's made the right decision in taking this rematch. To be honest.
Oh, interesting. Carl, a man yourself loves to go against the grain. Conor Benn goes against the grain in his own way. So does Eubank Jr. Who are you picking for this, and how do you envisage it playing out?
It's interesting what George said there, because the first fight was great. It had everything, and the build-up, and with Senior climbing out the Rolls Royce, and everyone was cheering. When I saw Senior getting out, I kind of knew it was coming. Yeah. And then to see him, so that whole.
You didn't know it was coming.
No,
you didn't know.
I didn't know, but we kind of all knew, didn't we? Really. You didn't know that right hand was coming, did you?
It was just pantomime and I told you he'd start fucking thing. And just was inevitable. It's like Thanos.
But listen, the first fight was good, it delivered in terms of the level of the fight. None of the world champions in that weight division at 160 are going to be worried about either of them, let's be honest. But the fight delivered because it was exciting, watchable. It ebbed and flowed.
Yeah, the crowd were fully immersed in it.
And the right man got his hand held. Can Eubank do the same again in the rematch at 36, getting on for 37, isn't it? In his 37th year. So I think that would have took a bit out of him. He did get clipped early, and he really had to work hard and dig deep in the last 3 or 4 rounds. And that takes a little bit out of you at that age. When you're younger, you grow from it, you learn from it, you come back a bit stronger. But when you're older, it takes a bit out of you. And Conor Benn's getting better. He's improving. He'll learn a lot from that first fight. So this fight for me is a lot closer. If Conor can catch him and calm it down a little bit on the outside, and not rush like he was rushing his work and all this head movement and little short steps and all this on the outside, unnecessary energy getting wasted for 12 rounds.
Yeah.
If you can just calm that down a little bit, and he's Tony Sims in his ear just to settle it down in the sparring, I think there could be a different decision on this one. I sort of fancy Conor Benn. You've got to make Eubank the favourite because he's bigger and he's naturally bigger, and usually a good big and beats a good little and all that. But in this case, I don't know. It's a close one, but I don't actually think it's a fight. It might be a bit controversial to say this. I don't think it's a fight that needs to happen. I think we've seen it. We've seen the fight. It was great. The right man won. You kind of put it to bed. No world titles. They've both got lost on their records. What's at stake? Nothing. The guys are just earning a load of money.
If Eddie Hearn was here, he'd have a different view on that.
Well, yeah, listen, they all want to get paid, don't they?
Well, 100%.
As a boxing purist, when I watched Nassim Hamed fight Kevin Kelly and he got dropped, my heart was pounding. I was nervous and I didn't want my hero to get beat. I mean, these fights, some of these fights now you see, it's just all about the money, and it takes it away from me.
Well, have you seen a fight that was that good last year? Or this year, sorry, have you seen a fight?
No, listen, it was a great fight, but
So
we've
why
seen
not
it.
see it again? When you see a fight that, it's like saying, why don't Mickey Ward and Sean Matt keep fighting? The fight's great, you want to see it again.
Yeah, but that's a different level.
It's not.
It is, because Mickey Ward and Arturo Gatti were far more superior
It's
to
not.
this
Mickey
one.
Ward is not a superior level.
No, it was.
Look at his career.
It was world
He's
level.
not Mickey Ward. Look at Mickey Ward's career.
Yeah, but look at what he did to Gatti.
He was a journeyman at one stage.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
that journeyman couldn't go and become a world
Mickey
champion.
Ward was a full-blown journeyman at one stage in his career. A full-blown journeyman.
Oh,
He's got so many losses on his record. It in no way, shape or form was Mickey Ward. Mickey Ward became a living legend by what he'd done with Arturo Gatti. Before Arturo Gatti, he was not a legend.
It's a good story, mate.
I
Thanks
agree.
for that.
We have a quick word about I think, Tony, you were sceptical about how much the weight cut affected Chris Eubank Jr. in the first fight. You know, he had to go to the hospital to be rehydrated. What do you think that he's going to play that card this time?
I'm not sceptical. He's a world champion in that weight division. There's no two ways about it. Why are you a world champion at a weight you can't make? It makes no. Now, I don't class that belt as a world title. I think there's more valuable belts in Matalan next. But at the end of the day, on paper, he is the IBO middleweight champion of the world. You can't claim you're the champion of the world and then say, I'm no good at this weight. It doesn't make any sense. It's like Carl coming out and saying when he was super middleweight champion, I'm no good at 12 stone. It's ridiculous. And me saying a cruiserweight.
And I don't think Chris is a super middle either.
No,
he's not big enough for 168, so he's got to say that he's a 165.
He's not even a big middleweight.
No, he's not. So I think he's making a lot of being 160 and doing the weight training because he's kind of a get out player. He gets beat, yeah, but I've done it the weight. Listen, you can do 160. It is hard for you to do, but have a look at what your dad used to do to make weight, starving himself for a week and sitting in saunas and sucking on little frozen peas. Fighters do that. I'm fortunate enough that I always did the weight quite well. I was always very, I say professionals. A lot of these fighters are professionals, still struggle at the weight just because naturally they put weight on. But Chris is a middleweight. He's
Don't ever
165.
tell me he's a middleweight when you see Brighton Andy Lee.
No, he's not a big middleweight, but he's a middleweight.
That's a middleweight of some proportion.
I think he's tight of the weight.
I
think he's really. I don't think
he's not.
I think
But
it's not easy. Some guys can fluctuate in weight and some guys can't. You know, and I don't think he's a guy who can sort of fluctuate in weight. So
But he
because
looks
he
like
can't go
an
heavy,
all-round
I
athlete.
don't think he can get light.
You
He looks fragile. When I see, you know, Eubank will post his sweating out videos, which we all do, but we're not allowed to do. But Eubank will do it.
But there's UFC fighters that do far worse than him and who lose more weight overnight. So you've got UFC fighters that lose 20 pounds overnight, and it happens on a regular basis. They get in the ring and they fight the next day. It all depends on how you make weight. These fighters now, which I didn't do when I was fighting, which I don't like, they use water and hydration as losing huge amounts of weight. So they will drink, and I've watched them witness their former fighters, gym mates like Jerry McDonald. I watched them drink 9 litres of water and then shed 10 pounds overnight. And that's just, I didn't agree with it, but I watched them do it. And I was like, why the fuck are you doing this to your body? You're going to get hurt. and it was just their ways of making weight. Some of them were tight, some of them weren't. But in no way, shape or form is Chris Eubank dead at the weight. He's the world champion at that weight. Like, how can you even... This kid's moving up from welterweight to middleweight, and I think weight is only a factor for one person in this fight.
Do we have anyone here that thinks Chris Eubank Jr is going to win this rematch?
Yeah, I think it's close. Chris Eubank Jr just may get his hand held and he may be the victor. I mean, I don't think he stops Conor Benn. I think Conor Benn's fitness and toughness and what he learned from the first fight and the fact that he's got youth on his side. What is he, 29 years old? 28, 29. I just think that he'll be okay unless he gets caught flush with more than one shot. I can't see it happening. But I don't think that I don't think you can just pick an out winner and give a full convicted reasoning why Conor Benn wins.
Have the
or why
bookies got
Eubank
him
wins.
favourite? Have the bookies got Eubank favourite? Well,
Yeah.
if the bookies have got Eubank, I understand why, because it'll be purely based on the last result, but you also have to look and take into consideration what Carl said earlier. He's 37, the size, but ultimately, to recover from fights like they just went through, and believe you me, that was a war that you can't have more than 3 of them in your career. Because after you have 3 of them, it starts to show. The signs, the telltale signs are there. Whether it's slurred speech, whether it's your reflexes start coming out of joint, you know, you're getting caught more and more. They do show. Now, with the turnaround speed of this fight, it will benefit Conor Benn more. The younger man will be the fresher man. The younger man will be... I don't want to put him as the favourite, but I just think the older man and the heavy man will come stronger later on in the fight. I think it will show out again. I just feel, in my opinion, I think he learns more from the last fight, Conor Benn, and I think this time he possibly does get rid of him and learns from the mistake, because he had him out on his feet 2 or 3 times, out on his feet, and he just didn't have it in him to press him. When I spoke to him before the fight, I kept saying to him, Conor, it's going to get hard, and he was like, Tom, I'm so fit, I can do 20 rounds, and I said, mate, trust me, at some point in this fight you're going to tire, and he wouldn't have it. He would not have it. And I said to him, you don't understand, what you do in the gym is different to what goes on under the light. And that was his first fight under the light on a huge occasion. I know he's had big fights in the past, but this was one of huge magnitude, ones that we've all shared here, and they're different to normal fight night, they're different to title fights, they're different to anything he's ever experienced before. It'll stand him in good stead what he's gone through, but he's still got it all to do, mate, in the fight.
For sure. I mean, Chris Eubank's delayed the rematch by a couple of months, maybe psychologically. George, you were an underdog against Chris Eubank. You overcame that. Is that mentality, yeah, unbelievable. Do you think that will play into Conor Benn's hands in any way? Or do you think he won't care?
Conor Benn, I think they're both very strong mentally. You know, they're just to deal and cope in the position that they've been in, to ring walk in a stadium and perform the way both of them did would have showed that they're mentally tough. But I think Tony's right that Conor Benn, it was his first big fight, so maybe a little bit of inexperience there for him. It's very hard to know the first time you're doing something. And it would have been the same for Eubank, I'm sure, and the pressure was on, and Eubank had a lot of things in the build-up that didn't go his way. Fine after fine, which I'm sure bothered him, and then failing the weight at the end, and the fine that was said to have been imposed on him, that would have haunted me the night before the fight. $500,000, yeah, or pounds or whatever it was, yeah, for like an nth degree eggshells worth of weight he was over. But I think time will catch up with Eubank. I think he is tight at the weight. I think as time's gone on, he fought me at super middleweight and then moved down, and that was 7 years ago. His dad.
Did that fight feel like he was in against someone who's not a super middleweight? Did it feel like?
I felt I was bigger than him, and I knew I was heavier than him on the night, but
He actually weighed in half a pound less than him, I think.
on the scales.
Yeah, on the scales, yeah, not on the fight night.
George was a big super.
Yeah, so I mean, there's some fighters, they can cut and then they put the weight on, and some fighters probably don't cut as much, don't put on as much. They do, but I'm pretty sure he's tight in weight. He's struggling in the weight. He's got the one thing that I think throws a caveat in, he's with Womack this time. Yeah, that's right. And you know, he's had success with him before, so we might see something different. You know, the different coach in the corner, maybe even the prep has been different, and therefore the weight making might be slightly different, and he might be a little bit fresher than I assume he's going to be. We'll find out, but I think it's going to be tough for him. I think Conor Benn gets his tactics right, wastes a lot of energy in the first fight. You know, he's got that sort of style where it's big dynamic movements, big steps. He caught Eubank in the second round, but then for me didn't really get anything off on him after that. You know, there's some basic fundamentals Conor Benn's got to employ to be in with a real chance against Eubank. If he can do them, then he's in with a real shot. But I do think he's in with a real shot. I think he might get it, and I think if it becomes who wants it most, maybe Conor Benn wants it most this time.
Let's talk a little bit about the hype and the anticipation, because for the first match it felt like, obviously with the egg slap and all the drama, it was building up to a massive crescendo. Have we not quite had that much this time, Carl? How do you think it will ramp up next week?
I think if I wasn't a fight fan, I wouldn't know this fight's happening. To answer that, because the first one, you couldn't miss it. Every time you put social media on, somebody was talking about it. And now it's like next week, and I don't know about you, but I'm not seeing it here. Anyway, maybe I'm missing something, but he hasn't got that feel that the first one had, and that's why I said earlier, like, we've been there, seen it, and done it now. And Tony would argue and say it was a great fight. Why didn't we want to see it again? Of course, we'll see it again. But for me, there's not as much at stake. The only thing that was at stake was the name and the legacy. Eubank Jr secured that by beating him, and that's done then. Now I'd like to see Conor Benn move on with his career at 154 at his correct weight. This is a guy that's coming up. He's given away all the advantages in terms of size. It's nice to see Conor move on, but he's going to earn a few quid now. We're prize fighters, want to earn money, so he's maximising the money before he moves back down to the weight he should be at. And Eubank Jr, I dare say, will probably retire after this, win or lose, unless it's that good and he wins and then we get the trilogy. God help us.
Let's see what happens. Do we have any questions from the floor before we move on to the round table speed dating experience that we will shortly be doing?
I think all the emotion is really out of this fight. It can't be the same one that it was. They all cuddled in the ring afterwards. Does that make it just more of a straight boxing fight now? And surely Eubank, when you look at the records, what they've done against who? Chris has had to, he changed a little bit. He was a pressure fighter. Then he sort of tried a bit of Roy Jones boxing. Surely, in a straight boxing match, without all the emotion and the egg slapping and the insults, Eubank should win that, shouldn't he?
That's a great point in terms of the emotion that was involved in the first fight. And from what I've said, is Eubank still trying to pick fights? You know, and is that part of it? Because he's posted this week that, you know, Eddie Hearn prevented him from getting to the. Is that right? Yeah, I don't want to misquote him. Like, yeah, prevented him from getting to the hospital, and whether that was the stadium's fault, or I doubt it was Eddie Hearn standing in front of him. But maybe he's trying to create a bit of buzz for this. Maybe he is still emotionally invested, but it felt like it did come to an emotional end last time because they've had it. They've left a bit in the ring, and yeah, I don't know. But still, maybe if you take emotion out of it, maybe that's not in Eubank's favour. I don't know. A good point, Willie.
Anyone else, Carl?
So what was the question?
It's without the emotion of the fight, like you and George.
They can't sell this on hatred anymore. They can't sell it on even Eubank Benn, because it's now 2-0 with a draw.
Well, that's why I said we don't need the rematch.
Yeah.
Obviously, it was a great fight. It was watchable. I enjoyed it. It was good. You'd see two guys, none of them quit. Both put it all online, and Eubank just finished a bit stronger than Conor Benn was able to. And I think the weight got all of him, as Tony pointed out again. The bigger guy down the stretch, as long as he handles his bollocks on the scales, he can finish a bit more comfortably, stronger and bigger. He's naturally bigger. So, like I said, we've seen it all, and you're right. The emotion is taken out of it. Both guys still want to win. There's still pride on the line. No one wants to get in the ring and lose. Nobody's turning up to get beat. Eubank Jr don't want to lose to Conor Benn, because then that sort of cancels out the first win. So he's going to want to win. He's going to be prepared to die in the ring doing that. He'll just go hell for leather and get his head down and swing away, and he'll take whatever he needs to take And Conor Benn is young, quite naive, and still learning. None of them have done their apprentice. They haven't got an amateur experience, so they're in there making fundamental mistakes, overreaching and standing having a swing up, missing more shots than the landing, and getting caught with shots they shouldn't be getting caught with, and putting the weight over the front foot, and making all sorts of mistakes. But if they're both making the same mistakes and no one's holding and they're engaging and they're hitting each other, it becomes a great spectacle. So I dare say it's going to be a good fight again. But yeah, with the emotion being out of there, is that going to affect it in a negative or positive way? We don't know. Eubank's going to probably try and box on his back foot and try and not get hit as much as in that first one. He's got the first win. Now he can try and dominate behind his jab, try and be on his back foot. And I think he's probably, I mean, you might argue, but I think he's the more skillful fighter. I've sparred a lot of rounds with Chris Eubank Jr. and he is quite talented. With that lack of amateur experience, what he's done and what he can do in there, I quite admire him for what he can do, what his ability in there. And Conor Benn, obviously, I've never shared the ring with him, but I've seen what he does, and he's got a big heart, he's solid, he means business, and he believes in himself, and he's got a good team around him. So they're quite evenly matched, but the bigger Eubank, I think, has got the advantage because of the size, but then he's got the disadvantage because of his age. And that first fight would have took a lot out of him. And I don't think we can see that kind of energy and drive and that kind of performance out of Eubank again. And that could be the difference if he doesn't get clipped. Don't forget, he got absolutely out-sparkoed by Liam Smith. Battered. He didn't get rendered unconscious, but he was in a bad way. And that was largely down to what George said earlier, which Tony will argue, it was definitely weight. Like, was that at 160? Yeah, it was at 160. So, you know, and he's 37 now, still doing 160. And everybody struggles at the weight. I mean, like I said, I didn't really particularly struggle, but you know he will be taking weight off and he will be trying to get down. But he's not a super middleweight, he's a middle. Get on with it. It's pro boxing. It's what we do. We do struggle at the weight. We starve for a week. We don't have much to drink. You know, we're running on empty when we start on them scales. We're ready to bloody, like a boiled chicken. There's nothing there. And then you've got 30 hours to try and rehydrate and refuel and get a bit of energy. And you try to feel normal again. And then you've got to go fight 12 rounds, 36 minutes. It's hard work. It's hard work for everybody. But it favours the younger man in the rematch. So it's still a pick and fight, and I've now got Conor Benn as a slight favourite, just based on the first fight, how it went. And I like Conor Benn as well. I think Eubank Jr can be a bit of a prick, a bit of an obnoxious prick.
Seen that.
But, you know, you've all seen it.
Changing
My
tactics.
both of them massively. My both. To come from the way they come from, and I'm not answering this question for you, by the way, to come from where they come from is remarkable to where they've got. You have to understand, these two kids are born in fucking silk pajamas. I come from the streets, mate, and from Liverpool. Froch's come from football. I'm not sure of George's background, but he was with me on England squads and we were fighting for fucking for nothing. Going around the world against fucking in places you couldn't imagine.
Good days though, eh?
Yeah, great.
And it builds that resilience.
It builds characters, but understand these kids have been given the whole life in front of them and said, you don't need to do this, you don't need to do that. And to get to the levels they've got to, I commend them both. Absolute animals, the pair of them. I have so much admiration for them because, and both of them, people can think I don't like Eubank or all that. I'm not, I don't really give a shit what people think, but what I'll tell you is, I've got huge admiration for both of them. Massive. Because I couldn't do what I done if I didn't come from what I come from. I'm a product of the environment. Them two are the total opposite, and I have to admire that. So yeah.
I agree with that, but put it into boxing perspective, Chris Eubank Jr.'s best win is Conor Benn. And it's a guy that's smaller than him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And Conor Benn's done nothing. He's still got his career to have.
Yeah.
So, you know,
Listen,
these two guys make for a great fight.
We've just got to be brutally and totally honest. They both had world title fights on the line, and they both chose to face each other. But
that's down to the money.
I don't blame them because they were getting 10 times the amount to face each other than they were to fight for the world title. And being in the business and knowing it like I know and being to the highest levels and earning a stupid amount of money, you get it and you know. Fucking fight each other as many times as you can and get as much as you can because you know when it's over, no one gives a shit. No one cares. And that is the most important. Get as much as you can, as fast as you can. And if that means missing out on a world title, then so be it. Because let me tell you, when you look back and the fucking HMRC or the gas man or the fucking Pingus at your door, he's not going to go, it's alright, you know, you won that WBC title fucking 10 years ago, I can let the gas lift this month. He's going to go, I don't give a shit about that title, I won't fucking pay him. And that's the difference. So go and make as much as you can, as fast as you can. I commend them both.
Well, Conor Benn did say that if he win or lose this fight, he's dropping back down to 154. He's going to concentrate on his career.
154 or 147?
147. So he's going to drop down to his weight division. What's that? Welterweight. So yeah, he's going back down to his proper weight, and he's not going to have. I don't know actually. But he said, I'm not having a rematch with Eubank, which I thought was interesting, because again, if the money's there and it's a great fight, he'll be taking the rematch, won't
If he beats him, doesn't matter what he says, the money will be that huge, he will be facing him again. I don't care what he said. If he wins and it's 1-1, the money's astronomical. And the people around him, and his father's a bright man, mate, don't let his father feel that he's a bright man. They will straight away be going, you're going into a fucking third fight, mate. Because this is going to pay 10 times more than that world title fight just on the side. And that's just common sense. Not rocket science, it's common sense.
Interesting. Speaking of fighting for money, Carl, has a certain Jake Paul been on the line recently?
No Jake Paul. No, unfortunately. No easy paydays for the Cobra.
No. It's some hard work out here.
I don't know what he's doing actually. I don't know what he's fighting. What he's doing. We shouldn't really be bringing him up in this boxing environment. That's a clown show, isn't it?
Yeah. Forget that.
I suppose it's relative in the sense that his fight's off, but is it back on, do we know?
I don't know. I thought they were looking for a replacement opponent.
Have you found anyone? Seen any news of who Jake Paul's next replacement is?
I read something on social media, it was you, and I thought, I hadn't messaged you, I thought, he'll message me.
What, some sparring?
You need sparring, but then.
You two is fight for the winner of Jake Paul, isn't it? You two should have a scrap and the winner fights Jake Paul.
Final eliminator.
Yeah. We all
You're calling it, or you've got to be in the mix. What's the weight going to be out there? That's the interesting point.
I would be done for GBH. Not happening, so don't.
Are you and Froch?
Against Jake Paul or Froch?
Don't.
Yeah, we need a bit more on that.
Don't poke the bear.
Hang on, who are you getting GBH on?
Whoever the fucking hell gets near me, mate.
So if I came near you, you'd get GBH on. Mate, you'd be fucked. You'd be unconscious.
Could knock a wank out of
Mate,
my
honestly,
On that note,
the speed ain't there no more. I've still got the speed.
No, I don't.
One connection
That's
on the very limb.
I think it's time to wrap it up. But it was getting spicy there. But now.